video, we're going to be talking about the concept of shadow. And this is a term that was first used by Carl Jung. He defined the shadow as a natural byproduct of the development of our ego. And really what the shadow is talking about is parts of ourselves that we deny, we push away. We rather not take a look at those aspects of ourselves because we think that they're not going to be socially acceptable. And these are parts of ourselves that have become like defense mechanisms or coping mechanisms that we've developed, usually at a very young age, as a result of certain challenges or situations that we've gone through. And we don't typically see them. They're blind spots for us. So let me give you an example in my own life that will clarify. So about 10 years ago, when I was in the corporate pharmaceutical environment, I was reporting into a manager that admittedly I did not like at all. Her and I, we did not resonate. Now, what's interesting, I'm going to describe her to you. Type A personality, perfectionist, super organized, a little bit of a control freak, and people would describe her as a micromanager. Now, as I'm describing my manager to you, does that sound like somebody else? Right here, right? I have a lot of those traits. But what was interesting is at the time, I had no idea. I couldn't see the similarities between us. So what's fascinating about that? Who did I not like in that situation? Was it really her? Or was it how much those aspects of her were like me, but the parts of me that I didn't necessarily embrace? And today it's not like I'm like, oh yes, let's go micromanage people or let's go control people, but I know I can recognize in myself the tendency, right? Those coping mechanisms, particularly under stress. So what happens when we can understand or start taking a look at those shadow parts of ourselves? Then we have more awareness. We know that, okay, I might be in a stressful situation, I might default to that, but let me make a different decision now. That's where the opportunity is in the awareness, and that's why we do this work. Now, what's very interesting is that we not only have that personal shadow and work that we need to do in accepting that part of ourselves, but also collectively there's shadow work to be done. What am I talking about there? Well, think about all the different situations that we're facing that are global challenges. Everything from equity issues to everything that we're seeing in the news today, where the level of consciousness is not there. Situations that you might be seeing and you might be repelled at. But what's interesting about those situations that we think, I can't believe that's going on. What part of us is contributing to that? That's the part that sometimes is very fascinating, is that we don't realize how some of our own habits are perpetuating the models that we're experiencing on a collective level. And a lot of times we don't even want to look at that, right? How we might be contributing through our own greed, consumerism, or what have you, to some of the issues that we might be facing globally, the things that disgust us and that think, okay, that's not fair that the world is in this place and that we want to do something about it. And so that's why the important work has to start with us, where we start first with the personal shadow, because a lot of the work that we're doing in raising our consciousness and our awareness will then impact the issues that are affecting us also on a global scale. So right now, to ground this concept, I invite you to think about something that's going on in your life right now. What might be some aspects of yourself that you're pushing away? And they're not always necessarily the dark parts of ourselves, right? I'll give you another example of where it can be considered a golden shadow. I used to think that a leader, an ideal leader, was somebody that was the old-fashioned command and control. You didn't bring any sensitivity or anything heart-centered to work because that was inappropriate. And in that way, I was robbing myself of the opportunity of bringing my whole self and my humanity to professional environments. Now, seeing that, that's a golden shadow, where I was repelling what I thought was socially unacceptable, which was sensitivity and heart-centered. Right? So it's not always our dark side. So I want you to think about, what's that example in your life right now of aspects of yourself that you might be pushing away or rejecting? I want you to share those with me in the comments below.